Welcome to the Motivated Martial Arts Podcast. Your hosts, Jackson White and Gavin Cook, have been friends and Taekwondo training partners for over 40 years. This podcast will bring you a mixture of their life stories, martial arts, and business experiences to motivate you in life and throughout your martial arts journey. Adding in a mixture of inspiring interviews and some of the best traditional martial artists around today. So over to your hosts, the Motivated Martial Artists.
Good morning and welcome to the Motivated Martial Artists Podcast with me, Jackson White.
And Gavin Cook.
We just wanted to remind you about the Motivated Martial Artists website, which can be found at www.themotivatedmartialartist.com.
We're also extremely excited that the Motivated Martial Artists have launched our consultancy business to bring to you a number of products and services to assist all martial arts school owners, instructors and black belts wanting advice and assistance on how to open and run a profitable and sustainable martial arts school.
We're also super excited to announce our partnership with Skills Worldwide and the launch of Skills UK and Ireland. Skills is a world-leading, dynamic, age-specific, bolt-on children's syllabus that can be integrated into any style of martial arts system. If you're an instructor or a school owner and you can run a children's class, you need to check out the Skills program. Skills syllabus is currently used in over 1,200 martial arts schools over the US, and we're really excited to see the growth here in the UK. I've personally been using the Skills program in my schools for the last 2 years, and it's given me massive growth, but more importantly, massive retention, because the drills are geared towards discarded repetition and, most importantly, fun. Melody Johnson, who designed the Skills syllabus, has extensive knowledge and experience researching the childhood development and the relationship in martial arts coaching and parenting. Her first influential development was the creation of the Little Ninja program over 20 years ago, which is still being used in some UK martial arts schools. For further information, check out the website, themotivatedmartialartist.com.
Today we've got a truly inspirational young lady onto the podcast. She's been training in Taekwondo for over 20 years. She's currently ranked number 1 in the world WT Para Taekwondo, Amy Truesdale. Good morning, Amy.
Morning, guys.
Morning. Are you well?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Oh,
good.
Thank you very much for taking time to come onto the show and speak to us, Amy. We're going to kick straight off because I know our audience, they really want to hear from you. You're such an inspirational martial artist from the UK, and like I say, really chuffed to get you on the show. So I'm going to hand you over to Gavin, who's going to ask you your first question.
Okay, Amy, so the question we always start off really is just, tell us a little bit about how you first got into martial arts, and tell us a little bit about your childhood and, sort of what sort of first inspired you to get into the sport, really.
Well, it was my parents, really, having myself and my sister Chloe. And my parents just thought it'd be a really good form of self-defence to actually start Taekwondo. They just felt like the world's not particularly safe, and for us to gain a life skill, it'd be really beneficial. So my dad took me along to a local club, which was in Chester, TAGB school. Went along, did the first class, and literally fell in love with it straight away. So that was 22 years ago, and that was my very first Taekwondo class.
Okay, cool. And can you remember what it was that really made you think, oh wow, I love this?
I just think it was just really energetic, and at the time the club was really big. There was a mixture of adults, there was a mixture of kids. It was really just good fun, very supportive, so you just felt like you fitted in, and it was just really good fun.
Was that sort of the first time you'd really seen any type of martial art sort of in the flesh, if you like?
Yeah, probably in real life. Obviously, grew up watching all the Bruce Lee movies. So when my dad had told me, you're actually going to a martial art class tonight, I was practicing on the mattress, trying to do these jumping, flying side kicks that I'd seen on television, and then, tried doing it on the actual day of my first Taekwondo class.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, after the interview, I'll send you a clip over of Gavin. He does an absolutely fantastic Bruce Lee impression. Don't you, Gavin?
I'm not doing it now, though.
It's more for the social.
Yeah, it's normally after about 3 bottles of wine though, so we'll keep that on the QT. What was your favourite Bruce Lee film, Amy?
Oh, probably Enter the Dragon, to be honest. That's probably my favourite.
It's got to be, isn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so how old were you when you achieved your first black belt?
I was 12 years old, so that's when I got my first degree black belt.
And can you remember taking that grading? Can you talk us through it?
Yeah, I can remember being like downstairs at Bristol and everyone really nervous. There was people like revising the theory, and I was just like, I am so excited. I remember like thinking like, I don't know why people are so nervous, because it's just so exciting. So I was like really looking forward to it.
And how did you perform on that grading?
Yeah, I had pretty good grading, to be honest, but every grading that I used to do, I used to get really excited for it. I just used to really enjoy them.
Oh, spot on. So how old were you when you started competing? And can you talk us through how you got on in your first competition?
Yeah, I think I was probably blue stripe maybe. So I would have been doing Taekwondo less than a year. So I would have been 9 years of age. I was at my very first club in Chester at the North Gate Arena. I was sparring a girl. She was a lot taller than me. She was a sidekick. I went flying from one end of the mat to the other. I think I ended up crying my eyes out. Didn't compete for a year after that. So I think it really knocked my confidence. Within that year, went back training, and then the same competition the following year, I got gold in sparring. So yeah, it was quite a good little comeback, really.
Okay, so obviously you're now currently a Para Taekwondo competitor. Yeah. How did you overcome having a disability when you were fighting in just standard Taekwondo? And can you talk us a little bit through your disability for our audience?
Yeah, sure. So I was born with like most of my forearm, my hand missing. Haven't got a particular reason, so I don't really know why I was born like that. But I feel like in my Taekwondo life, it's not particularly affected me. As I say, my club was like included me in everything. I was never told you can't do this, you can't do that. So any exercises anyone did in class, I would do exactly the same. So I can even remember it was my first Taekwondo grading, going for yellow stripe, and we have to do 10 press-ups. And Master Peros, he was our area coordinator. He'd have a small little focus pad under the table, and he would just kick it underneath, just so I could balance that under my arm and just then complete the 10 press-ups exactly the same as everyone else. So that I remember little things like that. So that was really good. So it was just the whole inclusion thing that I was doing exactly the same as everyone else.
It's fantastic, isn't it, that you found a sport like that, really, that, you know, I mean, that really, like I say, really includes you in every single part of it.
Yeah, definitely. So I think until I started Para Taekwondo, I didn't really find my disability as a hindrance, because I was just in standard competitions. I was just fighting everybody that was, say, you know, had 2 limbs, so I didn't really see it as any different at the time.
Well, not just fighting them, beating them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you know, I mean, me and Jackie have certainly watched you over the years competing, and we've seen you in numerous competitions, in, you know, normal able-bodied competition, standard, and you're still, you know, kicking the girls around the ring. So it's not been any issues there, has it?
No, not at all.
Obviously, within the sort of martial arts world, I know obviously you're very, very well known for your precise kicking and things like that. So tell me, you know, in terms of like your sort of training and things like that, how did you find that, you know, you concentrated maybe on your legs a little bit more because of your disability, or was it just like, have you always been naturally flexible and wanting to, you know, being able to do these nice kicks?
I think my flexibility, and when I was a lot younger, I used to do ballet dancing. So there was actually a time when I was younger, I was doing ballet dancing, tap dancing.
So you had naughty toes. You had naughty toes and good toes, did you?
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah.
I mean, I joke, because I've got a couple of the little ninjas in my class, and a few of them do ballet, and they're like, I'm like, right, stretching, pull your toes back, and then they're like, no, Mr. Cook, that's bad toes. No, I said, no, naughty toes are good toes in my club. Sorry, Amy, go on, carry on. So you did your ballet.
Yeah, so I think that was really beneficial for me. I was doing that many sports. I was doing something 7 days a week. My mum would like walk me to all these different clubs. So after doing dancing and swimming for about 7.5 years, my mum was like, you know, you're doing so much, you need to make a decision. So then I focused on the Taekwondo. yeah, back to what you were saying, I think that's where my flexibility did come from. So then when I found out I was flexible and I was quite good at scoring headshots, I think my main focus then was just focusing on like leg and hip strength. So I do a lot of work on that really.
Okay. So do you do a lot of? I know you probably do quite a lot of conditioning now. Now you obviously we're in the GB squad. I know I see a lot of your Instagram and Facebook posts of you doing a lot of conditioning. Is that something that you've always done?
To be honest, I don't think, probably when I was a THB fighter, I probably didn't do as much as what I should have. The only sort of conditioning sessions I would do is if I was attending squad training. Obviously, I'd train 2 to 3 times a week at my local club. Yeah, I think I do a lot more of it now than what I ever did.
So can you talk us through your journey from, being a TAGB fighter, for then being selected and then moving across to WT? Can you tell us how that took place?
Yeah. So what had happened, I just, I was really enjoying my time with the TAGB. I ended up winning everything that I possibly could have won. So I ended up getting world champion as a junior black belt, but then I went on to get world champion as a senior female as well. So I did that in the light heavyweight division. I did it in the WT style. I did it in patterns. So I was just sort of I really enjoyed it, but what else do I want to achieve now? Because I felt I'd pretty much done everything I could within the TAGB, so I then transferred over to WT. So I was doing both at the time. I was still with the TAGB as well, and I was just doing able-bodied competitions, really enjoying it with the WT. And then it just come up. Someone had sent me a letter saying, "Do you want to attend the special games?" And at first I was like, I don't like the way it's worded.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't want to go. I was like, no, I'm not interested. This was in 2009. Looked into the competition a bit more, and I thought, you know what, it's another opportunity. I don't very often get to meet large groups of people with a disability like myself, and I didn't realise there was other Taekwondo athletes out there that had arms like me. So I thought, you know what, I will go to the competition and see what happens. And then after that first competition in 2009, that's when it escalated to more competitions, more athletes taking part, and then it's just escalated to what it is today.
Okay, so currently then you're in the WT GB team, Para GB team. So does that give you now access to the Paralympics?
Yeah, so you have to be in the top 4 to qualify for the Paralympic Games. So I'm still in number 1. So obviously I'm in a very good position to qualify for the games.
Awesome.
Can you talk us through the qualification process? How do you get those rankings? So some of our audience may not understand how that works within WT.
So we have different competitions throughout the year. So say for instance, I was in Egypt in February. It was a G1. So that basically means it's worth 10 ranking points, which is quite low really. That's if you get a gold. If you go to something like a European Championships, where a lot more competitors are there, that's classed as a G4, which if you get gold is 40 ranking points. Okay. So depending on where the competition's held, what competitors are there, determines the ranking points. So you'll get whatever points for gold, silver or bronze.
Okay, and how many competitions do you generally attend each year then?
I'd probably say about 5 a year.
Okay, and do you get to select those, or is that something you work together with your coaches to select, or Team GB, they just tell you which ones you have to attend?
Yeah, so everything will be planned out. So everyone will plan the most beneficial competition for me to go to. So then the training plans have to be adjusted. So I'm in peak conditions to compete in those competitions. Yeah, it's worked well with myself and the coach.
Fantastic. That sounds really good. So you talked about conditioning and making sure that you're hitting your peaks. How have you had to adapt your training and your diet and all your nutrition? Because you are now a full-time athlete, aren't you?
Yeah.
So how have you had to find, from being an amateur? How have you adapted your training?
I was really lucky because I was still, teaching for the TAGB. So I was like, can I come in a few days a week? So before I got funding to be a full-time athlete, I was coming up 2-3 days a week just to get myself used to the environment, used to the training. because I didn't want to go in full time 5 days a week and be absolutely knackered just for the load. So I was lucky I gradually built into it. So now I'm used to it. It's amazing. So I've got full access to all the resources that we do have on offer here. So I think because I did it gradually, I've adapted really well to the training.
Okay. So talk us through like an average week for you, Amy, in terms of training and rest and conditioning and diet and nutrition. How does that all sort of fit together in your week?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm on a general phase, which is just like heavy repetitions. So on a Monday, I'll probably come in at 8:30 in the morning. I will do 30 minutes hip activation, followed by like a 2.5 hour kicking session. So that might just be even if it's just repping certain kicks.
Yeah.
I'll then go home, have my lunch. I've got a nutrition plan that I can follow, which will advise me on the best recovery foods to have straight after a training session. Then I'll come in and do weights. That'll be very similar Tuesday to Friday. I'll probably do 2 weight sessions a week and followed by 3 conditioning sessions.
Okay.
But it's always early morning for the kicking and then afternoon. Any other free time that I do have during the week, so obviously I'll have a couple of hours blocks in between training. I'll have a meeting with like my performance analysis. He will then go over my previous matches, things that I need areas of development on, any improvements. So that's just a standard week, really.
So it sounds pretty full on.
Yeah, it's good. So I do have a Saturday and Sunday to recover. We do have access to physio, so we can obviously get a massage, get any advice on better ways we can recover as well.
Well, okay, brilliant. What do you do in your downtime?
To be honest, I just try and catch up with my sister, spend time with my little nephew, try and just develop myself a bit more. Started college recently, just doing a basic sort of course in counselling, so I'm trying to push that a little bit further. I think that's really good for me just to have a positive focus and get a little bit more qualifications, really.
No, brilliant. So what would you say is the Amy Truesdale master plan then? Presumably it's to get into the Olympics, I suppose, would be the dream.
Yeah, so the plan is qualify for Tokyo, compete in September, get a gold medal, have a little bit of time off, just to probably process exactly what's just happened.
Yeah.
And then straight back to training, and then I would like to do another 4 years training and go to Paris. So in my head, my plan is to do 2 Paralympic Games, to do Tokyo and then do Paris in 2024.
Brilliant. It'd be interesting, won't it, this year, or next year, to see how the karate does.
Yeah, it will be really interesting. So the guys train here at our facility, so it's really good to see the gym buzzing, and we can obviously see how they're doing. So it'll be very interesting to see how it does actually go on in Japan.
Having seen them in training at your facility, Amy, how would you say the two styles differ? I mean, obviously, I know karate is a lot more rigid than Taekwondo, but I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on when you've seen both of them. How would you compare the two?
I don't know. It's just entirely different. It's just very sort of. I don't know. It's just very clean cut. It's quite a pretty sort of martial art.
Yeah.
So it's not like full on. It is full on kicking, but it doesn't seem as sort of aggressive. It's just very clean cut, very pretty. That's the way I see it. But I'm not an expert on it, so that's only what I've seen.
Sure, yeah, of course. So when you first, obviously, you've done Taekwondo. Have you ever participated in any other types of martial arts? Or is there anything that you'd actually think, do you know what, I fancy trying that at some stage in my life?
I think I did go through a stage where I wanted to try and get a black belt in as many martial arts as I could, but I didn't end up doing it. I did a little bit of kickboxing, which was okay, but it wasn't Taekwondo, so I did that on and off for a couple of months. Did a little bit of boxing when I was probably 13, 14, just because everyone at school was doing it and it was good fun and it kept us really fit. But no, always went straight back to Taekwondo.
So that's your heart and soul into Taekwondo.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so obviously, WT, you are a competitor. You are I'd say almost a professional competitor. The competing side, did you ever compete in the patterns forms side of Taekwondo?
Yeah, I used to really enjoy them. So I used to compete in patterns quite a lot.
And how did you get on there?
Yeah, I think I've had world champion before in the ladies division. So I used to be pretty good, but I think the more I did the patterns, I was like, I'm definitely not as powerful as the girls that were up and coming. So I think I stopped that just a couple of years just before I finished with the TAGB.
Okay, so throughout your career, obviously you're a fighter now. Who have been some of the inspirational fighters that you've watched growing up, where you've really wanted to emulate or be better than and beat?
I don't know really. Inspirational fighters. I suppose when I was younger, people who I'd look up to at the time were probably like Rebecca Riggs, Taz. They were the sort of girls I thought were really good fighters. So that I probably did want to be sort of at that level. Okay,
and now, who would you say who is your toughest competitor? Who's the person that's given you the hardest fights throughout your career? Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough one. There's a couple of girls in my category that I fight regularly now. There's a lady from Uzbekistan. We always have quite a close match together. So she's probably my hardest competitor at the moment.
How difficult was it? Obviously, when you transitioned from obviously TAGB to WT, I know a couple of my students have done the same thing, and they said one of the hardest things that they've really had to get used to is the scoring, is the sort of electronic equipment. It's almost like a knack to it. It's not just a case of hitting; it's a case of hitting in the right place. And I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
The electronic system is very frustrating. It really is. So there's times you can watch people sparring. Someone might get side kicks go flying, but just because you haven't hit it on a particular area where the sensors are, it won't score. So you do have to turn your foot over in a specific position to score on the sensors. So it is very frustrating at first, getting used to it, but just one of those things. You've got to adapt to the times.
Is that something you do during training? Sorry, Amy. Is that something you do during training? And is specifically, try and understand how to target the sensors and the correct angles and stuff like that?
Yeah, we do specific sessions on it, so we've got access to use the system whenever we want. So we're really fortunate that we can just try and work out and practice whatever kicks we want to practice on there.
Yeah. Like I said, it must be frustrating when you catch someone with a nice clean shot and you don't get the recognition. Is there presumably there's no sort of VAR, if you like, for Olympic Taekwondo?
There is. So we can do a lot of video replay for stuff. The thing with the electronic sensors, depending on your weight category, you may hit it and it will register, but you have to hit it at like a certain threshold.
Yeah.
So it might register a point, but it depends on your weight. You've got to do it at certain power for it to register. So it's just getting used to it.
Okay, cool. So one of the questions that we ask all our guests, Amy, is if you you're a mature woman now. You're not a young teenager. Compared to some of the guests we've had on today, at least.
He's a gentleman, isn't he, Amy?
Oh no.
You trying to say she's old, don't you?
I'm not saying that at all, Gary. Don't put words in my mouth. So, what advice would you give to a younger you, or maybe to a younger? So, for example, a younger lady in Gavin's club who's trying to go a similar route to yourself through the WT. What advice would you give them?
I would probably say, 1, make sure you enjoy it.
Yeah.
2, just don't put too much pressure on yourself. And just don't be hard on yourself. You can always correct mistakes and just don't beat yourself up too much. There's always room for improvement, and just try and stay positive.
Okay, and from you've said don't be too hard on yourself. Can you talk us through a time where things haven't quite gone to plan for you? What that scenario was and how you dealt with it?
I don't know. I think people that do know me quite personally, I am very hard on myself anyway. even if I do medal in a competition, I forget like the last competition that I competed in, I got a bronze medal in the European Championship. So I was very disappointed, very upset about that. I was really hard on myself. So that's just a perfect example of me really beating myself up instead of saying, okay, what did I do well in the matches? What can I take from this? But a few weeks down the line, I've gone over the matches and there was some really good positives in there as well. So it's just taking the positives out of it and then just, you know, using it as a lesson and moving forwards.
Well, but I think when you are an athlete and you're from that sort of mindset, you know, that's what you do, isn't it? You know, as a high performance athlete, you've got to look at where you went wrong and you've got to beat yourself up and you've got to always try and be one step ahead of your competitor. And I think, you know, that's really what sort of separates you sort of elite athletes from the ones that are always going to be sort of the amateur level.
Yeah, I suppose so, but at the same time, you know, you don't want to beat yourself up too much that you're making yourself, you know, feel bad about yourself. But as long as you can, you know, critique where you're going wrong and improve it, that's the main thing.
That's it. Yeah. You got to be critical, but at the same time, still realise you're still a human, aren't you?
You've got to enjoy it, haven't you? You've got to enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, what's the point? Eh? At the end of the day, we know we get one opportunity. You know, you get one life, and you've got to try and make the best of it and enjoy the moments, enjoy those small little moments, because that's, you know, before you know it, you turn around and you're Jackson's age, and you think, and you think, what have I done?
There's not enough podcasts to tell you everything I've done, Gavin. The cheek. So, Amy, right? One of the things I always see now. So I follow you on Instagram, and you know you are now definitely celebrity status in the martial arts world, and if not in most people's eyes. Can you just tell us, what's one of the best shows that you've been to, celebrity shows that you've been to?
Oh, probably the BBC Sports Awards. That's I've been lucky enough to go to the last 2 years. That's probably one of the best events I've actually been to. Okay,
and I got to ask you, did I see some pictures? Was it Anthony Joshua?
I didn't have a picture of Anthony Joshua. I did see him. I think I've had a few pictures of like Chris Eubank and Chris Eubank Jr. So yeah, that's been really good.
So I take it those events are really enjoyable.
Yeah, they're absolutely amazing. You're just like on a red carpet, and then you're like, oh right, there's Tyson Fury, oh there's Jessica Ennis. There's just like so many high-profile people walking past, and they're just like really just casual and just like speaking, and they want to have a conversation with you, which was like very bizarre for me. I was just like, oh, can I please have a photograph? And they actually want to have a conversation with you, and I'm like, wow. So yeah, it's amazing.
We'll lend you our podcast equipment next time you go, Amy. You can keep, you can get some sneaky interviews. Yeah,
it'd be really good.
All right then, I think we're going to wrap it up there, Amy. That's been really good. It's been a great insight to a high performance athlete, and also on a personal side to you, that I'm sure our listeners will absolutely enjoy. So I'd just like to thank you very much for taking the time out of your schedule, and I know of all of our guests you are probably one of the most busiest, so thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Amy, and wish you all the best for your sort of competing career. Hope it all goes well over the next few months and everything for you. So keep training hard and keep posting so we can keep following you.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and our Facebook group, The Motivated Martial Artist Podcast.
Or check us out on Instagram, The Motivated Martial Artists,
where you'll see much more content and early insight into some of the interviews and some of the guests and some of the conversations around the things that we're discussing. Hope to see you all next week.
Bye for now.
Bye.